Hey guys, so this video is about how me and John ended up living where we're living now. I mentioned something about this in the last video. If you haven't watched it, go to my channel down below, but this is pretty much what happened. So rewind back to like a couple months of us being engaged. So we were engaged and, we were thinking about where we are going to live. So I ended up going to talk to my family because my family owns a bunch of houses. So I wanted to ask about the two rental property that was near my parents' house. It was literally it's in this, one of them is in the same house because it's a two-family house type thing. So there is that one, and then there is the one that's actually next door, which is our guest house, but we fenced it off and they fenced it off and rented it. So I was asking about those two properties because John and I needed some place to live after we got married, and I wanted to know if my parents would rent one of those to us. So I really wanted the one that was actually underneath the my parents, like in the same property as my parents, not the guest house. But my dad was like, no, and my mom was like, I don't know about that either. And I was just like, oh, come on, because the other house, the guest house was a little bit more expensive than what they were asking for, was a little bit more expensive. So I wanted the cheaper one. But my sister talked to me and was like, listen, I don't know if mommy and daddy wants you to live right underneath you as newlyweds. They're going to hear you having sex and things like that and argue and stuff like that. So I went to my sister and was like, that's a fair point. I get that because I don't want to, feel like I have to kind of like hide stuff or keep quiet because my parents might be listening type thing. Even though it's whatever. Anyway, so I was more with the guest house. So there's a tenant there already. My mom was already talking about kicking them out and renovating the place because she wants it to be bigger. It's a 1-bedroom, so she wanted to make it a 2-bedroom. So she was asking my dad to kind of tell them to kick them out. And she's like, oh, that's perfect because Vanessa and John can have a starter, and then when we leave and get a better place, then we could they can renovate. So because at this point only John was really working, because I ended up quitting. I ended up getting fired from my other job. It was dumb, it was bullshit, whatever, but I got fired from the shelter. And so I was just focusing on school at the time, and so only John was really working. So I just wanted to get my degree, get out, and so I can just focus. And so she was like, yeah, that makes sense, we can do that one. So we were planning to move and stuff, so they gave them notice, and they were like, okay, well, you have to give us some time to find a place because it's a 1-bedroom, but there was like 6 people living there. It was a family and stuff, and they were like, okay. But my dad was kind of like, he's like John, and I want to say like that, like they're very timid, both of them. I feel like they're non-confrontational. They don't like to be in awkward situations, things like that, while me and my mom are both the opposite. We're just like, we'll put ourselves in there. I can be very timid sometimes, but I'm not afraid to say what I want and say what I need and get it. They are. So my dad kind of just didn't really push it. So a couple months passed and they're still not doing anything. Sorry, that was a long one. But they're still not doing anything. And I was asking them, I was like, hey, are they going to move out? Did they find a place yet? And Mom was like, oh, I don't know. Let me ask your dad, because she made my dad handle everything. And my dad was like, oh, you can't rush them. You can't do that and blah, 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 blah. So after that, I started asking him, like, every month, like, hey, did they find a place? Are you on them? Did you find a place? Did you find a place? So it's about 4 months before the wedding. And I've been asking them, and they kept giving my dad the ring around and kept like, oh, like, we're still looking for a place. We can't find anything and all of this stuff. So I was just like, we need to figure out a plan B, because it's 4 months before the wedding. I don't know where the fuck we're going to live. And we need to figure something out. So he was just like, oh, let's just look for apartments. I said, we can't afford that. We live in New York. We cannot afford an apartment. Really and truly, we can't. It's too expensive. And so he's like, okay, what else do you want to do? And I said, well, let me go to my dad and my parents and see how long do you think it will take for them to find a place. So I told my mom, was like, can you give us a timeline? It's 4 months before the wedding. I've been asking them for about a year now, like nothing. And she was like, yeah, like, let's ask them a timeline. My parents asked them, and they were like, oh, give us till December to find a place. So that would be about 2 months after our wedding, because we got married in October. I think they said the end of December. So anyway, I was just like, okay, well, we need to find a place since it's end of December. So I asked John, I was like, your dad has extra room. So I was like, why don't we ask him if we can live up in the attic? His house has 4 floors. 3 of the floors had their bathroom, 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a dining room, and a living room. 3 of the floors. The 4th floor is the basement, but it has lots of room. It just doesn't have a bathroom and a kitchen. It just has the washer and dryer and stuff. So I was like, so him and his dad live on the 1st floor. His grandma lives on the 2nd floor, and then the attic and the basement are now empty. So I didn't want to live in the basement, but I was just like, ask your dad if we can move up into the attic. It has a whole section, he's not really using it. There's nothing done with the basement. He can move stuff down to the basement. So we ended up asking his dad, and his dad was like, okay. And I told him, I said, the place that we're trying to get, the tenants that already live there said that they need until the end of December. So I was wondering if we can live here until that goes. So he's like, okay, that's fine. Anyway, wedding happened. We got married. Well, actually before that. So a month before the wedding, I ended up moving in, and we moved into the attic. And he never really, after we moved in, we lived in there for about a month before the wedding. So, except for the week that I went back home because I did not want to speak to him or talk to him or whatever, or see him until the wedding. So we gave ourselves a week of just being by ourselves. After that, we got married, really moved in, everything. We got settled in and everything. It is now December 1st, and I went to my parents, and I was like, hey, did the tenants find a place? Because they said give them to the end of December. And they were like, oh, let me ask. They asked them, and they're like, nope, we couldn't find anything. So I'm like, did they tell you a time frame? And they were like, okay, give us until August. And I'm just like, dude, what the fuck? Like, bro. So I'm just like, I went to my father-in-law, and I was like, listen, they still didn't find a place. Can we just live here permanently? And he was like, sure, that's fine. And that's pretty much it. That's how we live where we live now. So yeah, it was pretty much, you know, it wasn't really planned. And why this story is, I'm telling you this story is because it all comes into play later on when you're like in real time right now. Because, dude, it was crazy. But yes, that's how we live where we live now. And we're semi happy, but you know, it is what it is. So I hope you guys liked this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell button down below. And we'll chat. Bye.